Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to a brand new episode of The Side of Chaos of Patricio, a.k.a. Rocky. Now, there is a change to the lineup tonight. Salty Aaron cannot make it tonight because he had to work a little extra. It's fine. I am so blessed to have a plethora of friends who are willing to jump on mic at literally an hour and a half notice. So on tonight's show, I do have the comical, the one and only, the dude who always has the fanciest shoes, the loveliest socks, and the most prettiest hair, Mr. Daniel Martinez. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys? Hi. Don't mind me. I'm just advertising my $13 Plato's Closet find.
That's brilliant.
But dude, Daniel, I really do appreciate you coming in, filling in Aaron's spot. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's always a pleasure to be on.
You've jumped in a couple of times with Orlando Sideshow, and is this like the first time you're actually on Chaos? Or
I think so, yeah, because every other time it's been for Sideshow.
Okay, so tonight, yeah, you're actually on the Big Boy Show. My baby, my lovely, my precious.
Yeah. Wait, you brought me out to the Big Boy Show and you didn't give me a booster seat? Dude.
If you press a little thing on the button on the side, you'll be able to go up and down.
Well, now I'm just going to do that for the rest of the night. Thanks.
But no, on tonight's show, I am honored to have these two people here who are professionals in their field and are honestly some of the coolest people I've met in a long time. The gentleman sitting across from us, Mr. Dennis, I always want to say Cutler, but it's not Cutler.
Two T's. Not like the quarterback.
Dennis Cutter, right?
Got it.
How you doing tonight, Dennis?
Just good to be out of the house, brother.
I feel you, man. No, I can't say that because you know where I live. It's a plethora of positivity. There is never any negativity there. I like my house. I like my home.
It's kind of a cross between a Buddhist temple and a frat house.
Oh, wow. We got to call Billy on that one. That's 100% dead on accurate. And to his left, we have the lovely Gaby West. How you doing tonight, Gaby?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for coming on. I know I had messaged you last week, and it was kind of like a short notice kind of thing. And my apologies for not properly sending you a proper invite. I was just like through a messenger like, hey, what are you doing tonight?
No, it was perfect. You were actually really organized. You sent all the information.
Well, this time around, because last week you weren't available.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I'm gonna keep the focus on you real quick, Gaby. Tell us who you are and tell us what you do here in South Florida.
So I own a company called Artscape, where I focus on art and wine events. So it's art exhibitions all over town. So I collaborate with different venues to bring incredible art exhibitions and events literally all over Orlando. I'm working in downtown, I'm working in Winter Garden, I'm working in Windermere, and I'm doing some really exciting things. I'm trying to bring artists to venues so that they have places to be able to show and sell their artwork. Where
do you feel like your love of art comes from?
Well, I have a fine arts background. I went to art college in London. My father is also an artist, so I have that within my blood. I actually grew up in Italy. That's where I grew up. My father lives there now. And then I moved to London and I studied in London. So really all of my life has been immersed within art.
And I'm sure like the appreciation for the art culture in Europe is far more vast than what it is here in the States.
Honestly, everything that I'm basing my company on is as a result of coming here. I've been here for about 20 years now, and coming from a culture where art is everywhere, and then coming here to Florida in particular, there wasn't any art. And so I'm trying to get art out into public spaces where people can actually connect to the art.
Do you feel that this current generation now has a proper appreciation, or are they like trying to catch up?
I think within Florida, yeah, I still think there's some work that needs to be done in terms of how art is fully appreciated and what art really is.
Daniel, what about you? Like, what's your aspect on art? Because like you work in the realm of theater, whether it's your comedy or, you know, the stage itself. Like, how do you feel that this generation's appreciation for art is?
Well, I think that this younger generation, has a benefit that none of the other generations had. They have all of this art, all of this beauty, all of this wonder really right at their fingertips because they can look at it on a smartphone. They can look at it on their computer. But it's like, I feel like with your company, I feel like it's a little better because it's like you're actually like immersing inside the art. You're not just like staring at a screen and viewing the art that way.
It's very different. There's a real connection that happens when you see a piece physically in front of you. It's very, very different. It would be kind of the equivalent of watching a live performance versus watching, like, say, Hamilton. We can all see it on our computers, but you better believe if you go to the real live performance, it's got a completely different level of energy.
My mom actually did take me to see the touring company when I came down to Miami for a visit.
And how was that?
It was actually pretty good. Like, I was like, at first I was like, well, I don't really see the whole hype about Hamilton. But then I saw it and I'm like, okay, I can see what he's trying to do.
And then the King came out and your whole everything.
And then the King came out and I was just like, that is what I want to be when I grow up.
There you go.
No, King George in Hamilton is my spirit animal.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God. Isn't he amazing?
Oh my God.
The original
Yes.
guy who, oh my God, that performance.
Gregory
is
Joff.
outstanding.
Is it?
No, that's Jonathan Groff.
Jonathan Groff.
And I think it's either him or Aaron Tveit, but one of them voices Kristoff
From Frozen.
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I
think it's Groff, actually. Yeah.
Now, Dennis, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Sure.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say you've been on this earth a little bit longer than most of us at the table.
Probably so.
Probably so. Through your generations and just through your eyes over the past decades, do you feel like there's been a decrease in appreciation for art, or no?
I think it comes in waves because I'm a Gen Xer. So in the 90s, we had a resurgence of art in every capacity, in every venue you could possibly see. I think it kind of ebbed a little bit in time, but it is on the upswing. And I think that we're seeing beyond just having art in a gallery setting where we can have it in our everyday life. And I think that gives us a lot more access to it.
Okay. Now, there's been a new thing coming to the world of art, which is NFTs. Gabby, are you familiar with NFTs right now or no?
No, what is that?
So NFTs are non-fungible tokens, which are basically digital pieces of art.
Oh, okay.
That I wish I had a better understanding. My coworker Kyle is a guru when it comes to the understanding of NFTs, but it's basically a digital piece of art that, whether it's, you see it on your phone, see it on a computer, or see it on a TV or whatever, it's live art, and it just falls to one owner, and that's it. And it's transferable, and the values on different NFTs, because it ranges anywhere from a digital art of just a colored piece or an actual piece of a sports game. The NBA lately has been doing sales of NFTs of single clips of seasons of games throughout the season, I should say, and that's been blowing up like crazy. I still don't understand it, but apparently people are making tons of money on it. But switching over from the art to you, Dennis, tell us a little bit about like your background and what you do.
Well, I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So basically, I do everything a psychiatrist does for a whole lot less money. I do a little bit of therapy. I do med management, seeing people from all ranges of mental health issues, from attention deficit through schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, you name it. I see it, and it's never a dull moment.
What got you into that field?
Well, it's kind of funny. I had a background as a registered nurse for a lot of years, working in the nursing home setting because it was a means to an end, a way to get a job. I liked helping people. But when I went through my own mental health issues back in my mid-30s, I was going through a nasty divorce. I had issues with anxiety and depression already. Complete denial, but eventually I broke down because I'm going through the worst time of my life, and I finally go see a psychiatrist. And I get better. I'm on the right meds. I start talking to a therapist, and my stuff is finally getting sorted out. I'm able to go back to school, work on my bachelor's degree, then master's degree. And my own psychiatrist says, "What are you doing these days?" And I said, "I'm going back for becoming a nurse practitioner." And at this point, I'm thinking family practice, head colds and boo-boos, just simple, basic, routine stuff. He's like, "You ever think about doing psych?" No, I don't want to do that. Are you working with crazy people? Are you nuts? And he said, "Well, it's a good living. If you want to specialize, I'll train you." So the guy that actually saved my ass when I'm in my darkest place offered me a job.
That's awesome.
So I ended up training under him, got my degree, got my board certification, went back, finished up my PhD through University of Florida. It's probably the best job I've ever had.
Really? Now, do you see it as a rewarding in what you do, or is it like more of a monetary thing?
It's a reward in what I do. Don't get me wrong. I'm well compensated. The paycheck is great, but having people that can't really have a normal quality of life tell me that they can finally hold down a job, maintain a relationship, not have panic attacks that put them on their ass about every other day.
Mhm.
That kind of progress where they finally figure they have a hold on their life and they have some control over themselves. It's amazing to see the progress that people can make. And that in itself is rewarding. The other side of the coin is there's times that you can't save everybody.
Yeah.
So you can see 20 to 30 patients a day, and that one person that doesn't do well, that keeps you up at night.
Do you feel that like the ones that you can't save, like what is the struggle with the ones that you can't save? Is it on their part, or is it they're just not clicking, or like what do you feel?
I think it's kind of a mixed bag. There's some times that the medications only do so much. You can only get so far in therapy. But there's also an accountability that the individual patient needs to maintain too. They have to want the help. They have to want to do the homework. They have to want to be consistent with their medications, or it doesn't work.
Sorry, I just got I've had conversations with you at the house when we were in the river, when we were at lunch, and you've seen me break down. You've seen me, I'm at the point where I've had to let out my anger in a very constructive way.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you, seriously. Like you threw your professionalism at me. You helped me find clairvoyance. And I think it was like within an hour of our dinner, like I left there. I was still dealing with some stuff, but like you pulled a huge weight off my back.
But you were able to deal with the stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, to quote Mr. Rogers, if it's mentionable, it's manageable. So whenever you're able to verbalize what you're feeling and actually get it out there and put a name and a face on it, you know what you're up against.
Now at this table, I think we have like a separation of decades, between us. And I don't want to like point fingers or like put anyone on the spot, but like, I kind of want to go around the table and ask, like, do you feel that does your generation have a better understanding of mental health management? Like, what do you think, Daniel?
I think that we have a better understanding of like what our limits are as far as mental health goes. And I also feel that, honestly, I feel like mental health is the only thing that my generation's really good at, honestly.
It's almost fashionable at this point to, have the ability to see somebody and get help because everybody else is doing it now.
Exactly. Well, it's also, I feel like, especially after this pandemic, we've all spent so much time trapped inside with ourselves, the one person that we fear the most. So naturally, it's like, okay, there's a lot of behaviors that we need to unpack. There's a lot of vicious cycles that we need to break ourselves out of. So I feel like this generation, or like there's a huge cultural shift that kind of surpasses generations, if I do say so myself.
Fair and valid.
To like actually try and get that help.
Well, being alone with your thoughts is a scary place for some people. And we had no option but to be alone with our thoughts during isolation, during a pandemic. And it kind of gets to the point that we can't blame other people for our flaws and our faults when we're by ourselves. We have to look in that mirror deeply and actually recognize that, okay, either I'm doing something right or I'm not. Either I can fix this or I can't. And when we take that accountability and recognize that we do have control over certain things in our lives that just downright suck, then we can own it and actually fix it.
Now, Gabby, with your background, coming from a different country, having a better appreciation for just life itself, do you feel that your generation has a good grasp on mental health, or what's your take on it?
I think it's less generational and more, well, we could look at cultural differences, for example. So in England, you shut up and put up. I mean, people never expressed their emotions. But I grew up in Italy as well as England. So I kind of have two sides of the coin that I can kind of draw from within my personal life. But I feel, if we look at the kind of pandemic and having to sit with ourselves, which I think you made a really good point about, for me personally, I'm a meditator. So I actually took that time to go much deeper within those thoughts that we're unaware of, because we all have these thoughts. It's like this chatter that happens, and most of us are not aware of what that chatter is. And if you really do take that time, which I had the pleasure of doing with the pandemic. I mean, I really sat, I turned everything off. I had about 10 days where I didn't see absolutely anybody. I didn't even leave the house. And I really just noticed, really became aware of every thought that was kind of coming up. And most of them are so unconscious that I think the first step is to become aware, to become conscious of what that is. And then perhaps your job would be to look at where that kind of stems from. But there's also, how do we change that? And really the only way that we can change that is by setting in motion new thoughts. And then you focus and you keep bringing the mind back to the new thoughts. And then slowly over time, the way the brain is firing and wiring, it will start to pick up on a whole new stream of thought and consciousness. That's
kind of the basis of cognitive behavioral therapy. It's setting small, reachable goals that you can build yourself up.
Yeah, but it's also awareness.
Yes, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And it is kind of like a Buddhist mentality if you think about it, because all of Buddhism is just about breaking out of like vicious cycles and like trying to like achieve inner peace.
I want to give my point of view, because growing up as a child of divorce, as a child of just being raised by a single mother, I saw a lot of struggle on her part, whether it was working 2 to 3 jobs to keep food on the table, maintain a roof over our heads, the lights on, things like that. I kind of got pushed in a sense of like suppressing my feelings. If I was sad or upset or feeling bad, my mom would literally look at me and say, "Stop being sad." Like there was no alternative. There was really no talking about my feelings or expressing my emotions, to the point like, no, you're the man of the house. You need to suck it up. And it kind of warped me in a sense where I thought for a long time, like I had a good comprehension and a great understanding of my feelings, because I was like, you know what? I can't be sad anymore. Boom. All right, I'm happy now. Let's keep going. And whether it was entering a stage of denial, it really messed me up going into my adolescence, because I did end up going into anger management, because now like all these bottled emotions just started coming out.
It's got to go somewhere.
Yeah. And what is it about emotions that like they just don't go away? Like they have to find an escape.
Well, it's just like any other thing that's energy or matter. It's got to go someplace. You can't just utterly destroy it. It's got to go somewhere. So either you channel it into a positive place, you bottle it up and it comes out later, or you channel it into a negative place.
Do you, Dan, go ahead.
And I was also going to say that's also part of like a cultural thing, especially with like Latinos in America. You know?
Yeah.
Like there's that huge sense of machismo, and like emotions are kind of seen as like a, I hate to say it, like feminine trait.
Yeah.
You can't be seen as weak.
No,
exactly.
Not at all. No, my mom.
And I think that's the biggest issue, is that, and I think hopefully as a mother, I would love to see that shift, because men have been brought up to, from a very early age, told that they should be hiding their emotions. They need to suck it up. They need to be a man. And you even kind of mentioned that. You were the man of the house. What does that actually mean? So I think that needs to change. That's a huge shift that needs to happen. And I'm hopeful that the next generation that are coming will have less of that. What does it really mean to be a girl or a boy? And why are there so many of these traits that we're supposed to have? And I mean, you could probably shed more light on.
Well, but really some of those traits are useful when they're used in a useful way. If they're used in a way that builds up this toxic burden of emotions that you're carrying on your shoulders for the entirety of your life, eventually it's going to bear a bigger burden, and it's going to break you down in time. But
to be a man doesn't mean that you shouldn't have emotions.
Absolutely not.
So as a mother, especially of a girl and a boy, but my boy, I want my boy to have the ability to be able to express everything that he's feeling.
You want to raise him to be honest with others, but also with himself.
With himself, exactly.
Now, that right there brings a question like, do we in the society now, do we still honor like the roles that people should be playing in modern day society? Like, I'll give you one example. A few weeks ago, I was at dinner with some friends, and someone's wife came to the table. I stood up, and I kind of looked around the table, and none of the other gentlemen, or I'm just going to say none of the other guys stood up. And I felt a bit awkward, but it was just like my social upbringing is if a woman or a lady walks into the room or to the table, you stand up, you out of signs of respect, you open the door for them.
You were raised right.
Is it a lifestyle or being raised right in regards to chivalry?
I think chivalry is not completely dead. I think it's napping, maybe comatose, in fact, in some cases. I would like to see that brought back. I'm kind of guilty of that myself sometimes, but I'm also married to somebody who sees me as an equal. So I'm not so much of a caretaker, but I'll still hold the door for her once in a while.
Yeah.
I'll still take care of the things that a guy should take care of. I'm the one mowing the yard and pulling the weeds while, she's taking care of the finances inside the house.
Yeah.
We all have our tasks that we do, but at the end of the day, I think there's room for chivalry, but also keep it in check with keeping things equal.
Good.
I think it's not just about, I think that this generation doesn't like really promote chivalry as much as we promote like courtesy. So it's like, we'll just hold the door for people, not because they're a man or a lady, just because, they're coming in. So just hold the door for them. Just stuff like that,
Well, what's your take on that, Gabby?
I kind of agree with both of them. I just think, it's interesting. We were just outside and I did notice the fact that as we were all coming in, you did actually hold the door open. And I noticed that. And I thought that was really nice. And obviously it wasn't just for me, it was for all of us.
Yeah.
So it is more about just sort of caring. I think a lot of our kind of social conditioning comes through depending on our culture, because different cultures have different kind of social conditioning.
Yeah.
Really, life is all about, we live our lives and there is a bunch of social conditioning that happens. And there's a bunch of stuff that we kind of have to work throughout life to get to know ultimately who we really are on a much deeper level.
Earlier this week, I came across a video that it made me laugh, but it really made me think in regards to roles in society nowadays and the results of these actions. Are they just or are they not? So I'm gonna put a video up on the screen for everyone to watch. If you're watching via video via Facebook, if you watch later on, if you're watching this, if you're listening to our show afterwards, I will put it up on our Facebook page to watch.
You make daddy a sandwich. Most of the time. No. Let me ask you this. Well, okay, let me ask you this. If me and you out and somebody say something slick to you,
You punch him in the face.
you want me to smack him in his mouth, right?
That's right.
So if I take you on a date and I say, look, baby, we gonna go Dutch.
No.
Exactly. If we walking up to the car and I don't open your car door, what do you say?
Open the door.
You better believe it.
Yeah, no, I am with you. I think
So you make daddy a sandwich.
I think if he wants a sandwich,
You make daddy a sandwich.
most of the time.
No. Let me ask you this. Well, okay, let me ask you this. If me and you out and somebody say something slick to you,
You punch him in the
you
face.
want me to smack him in his mouth, right?
That's right.
So if I take you on a date and I say, look, baby, we gonna go Dutch.
No.
Exactly. If we walking up to the car and I don't open your car door, what do you say?
Open the door.
You better believe it.
Yeah, no, I am with you. I think
So you make daddy a sandwich.
I think
So just to clarify, he said a term that not a lot of people are aware of, where he said, like, we gonna go Dutch. Gabby, I'm gonna ask you, and I know I'm already expecting this response. Do you know what going Dutch is?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Of
Oh,
course.
okay, Dennis.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay, so everyone knows what going Dutch is.
Yeah,
okay.
pretty much.
If you're going Dutch, it's not a real date.
If you're going Dutch, you're both poor.
Yeah. Either you're broke or you're in the friend zone. One of the two.
And I explained to that one. So basically, what Dutch is on the first date, going Dutch, both parties pay for their own meals, and if everything goes well, down the road, the man will reimburse for the expenses taken on the first date. I was raised to, if you're taking someone out for dinner or a drink, if you're inviting, the bill's on you.
Right.
That's how I see it. And then he had made the comment of, like, if someone talks smack to you, her immediate response was, you punch him in the face, defending honor right there.
Right.
And I'm gonna ask you, Daniel, with your partner, if someone were to insult your partner, what would be your course of action?
That's a really good question because, like, I have no fighting ability whatsoever. I'm just gonna admit that about myself. But yeah, I'd just be like, hey, can you like not? Or you know what? I would just read them. You know what? Fuck it. You wanna say something slick to my partner? Yeah. Why don't you say something slick to your eyebrows and gel them down, you crusty ass bitch? Like, fuck do you think you're doing talking to man like that? Like, he's sex on wheels, and you're like Meals on Wheels, but like shitty Meals on Wheels.
So, Gabby, let me ask you, being the only lady in the room,
So much pressure.
if you're with your partner and some other person makes a sly remark to you, what is your course of action? Like your response at that point? Do you request that your partner defend you, say something, do something, or do you take actions by yourself?
Honestly, it's going to depend on the situation.
Okay.
I mean, you can't. Who is this person making these comments? I mean, there has to be a whole story behind that. So I don't think violence is necessarily going to solve anything.
Fair
So,
answer.
Every given situation, if somebody's lost it to the point of that level of kind of aggression or violence or attacking, whether it's verbally or physically, there's a problem there. I'd probably call him. Have him come sort it out.
So Dennis, I'll ask you, being a married man, lovely wife, and you guys are out at dinner, or
Yes.
you guys are out at a bar having a great time,
Mhm.
and some jerkwad comes up and makes a sly remark at your wife. Like, what's like the course of action from Dennis at that point?
In past relationships, I have thrown down before. I've gotten into altercations, and some of it, I think my partner at the time set that up because, she dug it. She actually wanted to see me get my ass kicked. In my current relationship, my wife is a pretty skilled fighter in her own right. She's got a background in MMA.
Oh, wow.
I have a wife who's a 5'10" Irish former kickboxer, so she knows how to defend herself. That being said, if somebody pops off at the mouth, I'll probably be the one to first try to interject, and I'll probably be running off at the mouth myself first.
Yeah.
There'll be some smack talk. If it escalates, I would probably take it to a physical level. But by the same token, Tara can defend herself, so she would be as likely to defend me as I would be to defend her.
Yeah. So, and then the last one, I believe, was if he doesn't open the door. Now, Gabby, do you feel?
Wasn't it the sandwich?
Oh, I'm getting to the sandwich.
Okay.
I'm getting to the sandwich. The sandwich is the cherry on top right there. But in regards to chivalry, right there, do you feel that it's a man's role or obligation to pull the chair or open the door in your eyes?
I think that's just showing attentiveness, which I think we all really appreciate, don't we? When your partner is really thinking about what your needs are and putting those first, I think that's lovely, But is it something that should be expected? I think it's more about doing things from your own heart, doing things, and that's more genuine, isn't it? Rather than just doing them because you have to do them. When are we getting to the sandwich?
So, yeah, it all started off with him asking, him saying, if he asks for a sandwich, make daddy a sandwich. Now, the sandwich itself could be many things. The sandwich itself is a metaphor. And I actually had this conversation with my partner saying, hey, what's your take on this? And she took it in a sense where she didn't understand what's the sandwich. Are you hungry? Do you want a sandwich? Like, do you want a threesome? Like, it went like that.
Too literal
at that point. And I saw it as if, in relationships, there are roles, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And how you expressed before, she takes care of the finances inside, you do the handiwork, the physical labor, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
In your relationship, when you're in a relationship, your partner, do you feel like there are certain roles? And I'm sorry for saying it like this, but as a gay man, what are roles in a homosexual relationship?
I haven't been in enough to tell you. Like I'm a single little Pringle, let me tell you. But like generally, I feel like there's not really that many rules per se. Like there are definitely people who exist within that binary where it's like there's a very feminine bottom and a very masculine top. Sometimes it's the reverse. But most of the time it's just like, you know what? We're both dudes. We can easily make our own sandwich. So thank you, Vanessa. Thank you.
Now, I had actually sent my friend Vanessa the video, and her response was a little bit different than what I expected. And I'm actually messaging Vanessa right now to see if she's. Oh, that's right. She's working, so she can't call in.
Wait, is she in Alaska?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, you remember Vanessa.
Yes, I remember Vanessa.
She basically said, you know, he can make his own damn sandwich, and she had said I can open my own damn door. I, as a male, sometimes I kind of get lost at that point where I try to be civil, I try to do certain actions, and they get met with, well, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? Why are you acting like that?
It may not be that person's love language.
There it is. Dennis, I love you. Thank you for understanding where I was going with that. Love languages. Have all you at this table taken your love language test?
Yes.
I have, but I can't remember what.
I don't even know what a love language test is.
Okay, so there's different things that different people have as their love language. It could be
Okay.
an act of service, somebody that does stuff for you. It could be giving gifts, somebody that, you know, wants possessions from another person. It could be physical touch. It could be words of affirmation. It could just be, you know, different things for different people that make that person feel attended to, makes them realize that there's affection. That's what that person accepts as love from another person. And sometimes you have couples that are trying to do nice things for other people, but it doesn't click because the other person on the receiving end, that's not the way to their heart. It's kind of like the old saying, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. That's a guy that likes to eat. So somebody that prepares him a sandwich, that's his love language. A guy that is trying to watch his weight, he doesn't want a sandwich right now. He's watching his carbs, you know. But if you go with him to the gym, keeping him company while he's trying to lose that gut,
The quality time.
that's a love language, quality time.
Now with those, Gabby, do you remember which one you were or which one you feel you lean more towards too?
I don't. What were the five? I'll tell you.
So words of affirmation,
Uh-huh.
quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts.
I'd say quality time, touch. What was?
Words of affirmation, acts of service, and receiving gifts.
Probably words of affirmation. Maybe I skirted with one of the others.
A little bit closer to the mic.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good. For mine, it was actually words of affirmation.
Mhm.
I'm not one that how would I say it? What I have, I work for. I get my things on my own, whether that's a selfish act or a prideful thing.
So you need that validation to basically say that you're on the right path and that it's being recognized by
Yes.
those that are close to you.
Yeah, I need those words of positivity to make sure, like you said, I'm doing the right thing.
So if you don't get the words of affirmation or you get the opposite of words of affirmation, it hurts.
It hurts. It really does. They say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words fucking hurt.
Yes, they do.
And I remember, being bullied as a kid, and it got to the point where those words of affirmation met my physical touch, and then it stopped.
Right.
Yeah, I escalated it to the point where I had to interject violence to stop what was going on at that point. And like you said, violence is never the answer, but there have been points in people's lives, and I'm not trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Condone any acts of violence in any way, shape, or form. However, there are instances where
there's times that it's necessary.
Like would you say like it's a last resort kind of thing?
Yes. When you've exhausted all other means of diffusing a hostile situation, then it's time to take up, I don't want to say arms, but sometimes you have to defend yourself.
Well, no, it's like I'll extend the olive branch, but then sometimes you need the bayonet.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Sorry, what?
Do you feel like sometimes that a physical action to a negative situation is needed?
I mean, I would try to explore other avenues before getting to that point, obviously. But if it just becomes like a necessary evil, then do your best.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, what about Gabby? Your thoughts on that sense?
Well, I think ultimately you have to defend yourself. So if somebody's attacking you, you have to defend yourself in that sense. Obviously, it's not a path I prefer to go down. I think that most things can be resolved just by talking to people. Often people are coming from their own sometimes skewed perspective, but it's their perspective. So they're not seeing things in the same way as you. And that's where the disconnect happens.
Take control of the conversation, Danny. I want to fix the computer real quick.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, but I also believe that on some level, like some people just don't want to listen. They just want to, they're not really listening with their ears to what you have to say to them. They're more listening with their pride and how they feel about the situation at hand.
But you can affect other people just in who you're being at any given moment. You do recognize that.
That's a good point.
So if you're going to hold on to that person's anger and you're going to respond in that way, they're going to be affected by that, or rather you're going to be affected by them. So the Buddhists have a saying where if somebody is trying to give you a gift, for example, their anger, do you choose to accept that gift? And it's always a choice.
Yeah, I remember there was like one time where I was outside of Grumpy's and my friend Kali was spoken to very disrespectfully by
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah.
I was there for that one.
Yeah, so was I. And like this woman spoke disrespectfully to her and Kali just said, you know what? I was going to offer you a ride home, but honestly, I think that this conversation is over and we don't need to have any more words for one another because at this point, it's just not going to be productive. So I feel like that's the point where it's like sometimes you just have to like walk away.
That's the best course of action.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let cooler heads prevail.
Yeah.
Unless they follow you.
Mm-hmm.
You see, now I have a story on that one, and I want to get your guys' take on this one. And I've actually told the story multiple times on different episodes where I was at a club one time with some lady friends, and these guys were trying to get into the circle, and they didn't want that. They just wanted to dance, so they brought me to like kind of be a little bit of a bodyguard. I got in their way, and one dude just kind of just started getting in my face. I'm like, just go away, just go away. Night progresses, and we end up walking to our car, and they followed us to the point where he just starts yelling and cursing at me. He's like, you don't know me. You shouldn't disrespect me like that. Those girls want to talk to me. Don't be a bitch, blah, 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 all the shit. And it got to the point where we're literally at my friend's car, and all the girls are getting in, and I'm about to get in, and the dude is in my face. And I'm like, just go. Just get out of here. And the girls are saying it too. Just go, F you, fuck you, get the fuck out of here, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just go. The guy punches me in the face in front of everybody. And at that moment, I don't know what happened to me, but I noticed everything around me. I could tell you from memory how many people were on the street, where the cops were.
Hypervigilant.
I remembered everything. And the second I came back, I opened my eyes, I looked at him, and I laughed. I just started laughing. And I don't know what came over me, but all I said was, have a nice night. And his friends, the dude who had punched me, kind of like took that as a negative, or like, dude, let's get out of here right now.
Because they didn't know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
You weren't responding in the way you were supposed to, but you also had an experience where your consciousness really expanded. So just as you're talking about hyper-awareness, that's a whole different level of consciousness. You got to see such a much bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they really punched you.
Yeah. No.
And if you just took his best shot and you're laughing,
Yeah.
what are you going to do to him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a really it was a big eye opener at that point. And going through the therapy that I did in my younger years, I was always talked to the point where, like, if you feel sad or if you feel upset about a situation, make a joke about it. Find the positive, and you're going to prevail. And I've been doing that for almost 2/3 of my life right now, where if something is bad, something wrong is going on in my life, I honest to God try to make a joke out of it, or I try to find the funny, or put a positive spin on it, because I think you can attest to this, like stressing about something really isn't going to help the situation.
If anything, it'll make it worse.
Yeah. And Daniel, like, do you feel that acting on negativity or suppressing the negativity, like what's your route when coming to a situation that's not to your liking?
Sometimes the situation is not to my liking, and I'm just like, okay, what is going to be the best course of action for you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you can address the situation and try to fix it? Do you think that it's better to just walk away? Do you think that it's better to just kind of channel your anger into something like more positive?
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time I try to pick like the best course of action. Sorry, that was kind of a non-answer.
No, you're fine. It's such a generational thing to say. I'm kidding. But no, getting off the subject, I enjoyed the views from everybody right here, because we had different views, but I kind of like, in a sense, going the same direction of like, going towards the positive, trying not to focus so much on the negative energy or just the negative situation itself, to the point where just move on, find the happy. Yes or no?
I think that's the best way to go. I mean, you have to find joy where there is none. And sometimes you have to make it yourself.
Make it for yourself. I thank you. That's the best right there.
I also just want to say something. I was having a conversation with a friend, in fact, my friend Maha, earlier today, about exactly this. And I've come to understand that life actually happens for us, not to us. So now, whenever something seemingly is going wrong, it's actually coming together in a whole new way. And I've really come to understand that on a really deep level. And if you start kind of really watching that, you'll really notice that really nothing is ever happening to you. It's all happening for you. Whether it's showing you a way that you can kind of readjust your patterning, your thoughts, or it's just showing you a different way of doing things. It's always happening for you.
That's a good point, actually, because it's like after like a particularly like nasty breakup, you try to like reassess like what happened there. Sometimes after,
and then the new lover comes along and you go, wow, I'm so glad the old one's gone.
Exactly.
It's all perspective.
Exactly.
Earlier this week, I was going over some finances, and I realized that I spent a lot of fucking money on streaming. Whether it's HBO, Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Amazon, like it's crazy. It's to the point where like I'm basically putting the same amount of money that I used to put in for cable that back in the day that I'm doing in now. And when we were outside, we were talking about how the future of broadcasting is going, and because I remember when we were talking outside about radio itself. And you had brought up a valid point, and I wanted to like kind of just interject and go back to that one, because I feel like there was a great conversation there, and I'm going to try my best to revive that amazing conversation that we had outside, because sometimes the best conversations are off mic, and I fucking hate that. But do you remember what you had said out there in regards to like radio itself? Yeah,
so we were talking about, and actually you, Daniel, were making some really good points about, I asked you what the future of radio was, and we were talking about how really it's to do with podcasts, it's to do with the streams. Mm-hmm. It's so that really is the future. People want to be engaged. I feel like people's attention spans are much shorter, so it needs to be kind of snippets of information. Like, people want a lot of information downloaded instantly. So It has to be very, very kind of quick. But I do feel that really that is the future, isn't it? We were talking about that. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Danny?
Well, I do think that also like podcasts kind of fill the void that radio doesn't necessarily like fill, because if you like listen to like a classic rock station, all you're really going to get is classic rock. And sometimes that's not what you want to listen to on like a long drive. Like I was actually talking about this one podcast that I listened to called The Last Degree of Kevin Bacon. And it's like absolutely bonkers. It was produced by Funny or Die. And it's about this failed Hollywood actor who loses out on a major role, on the role of like Ren, I think, in Footloose, that was played by Kevin Bacon, to Kevin Bacon. So he's basically spending the rest of his life like trying to like ruin Kevin Bacon's life and basically kill him. It's just absolutely bonkers, and I can't really explain it all. But like, Kevin Bacon himself is on it, and so is his wife, Kira Sedgwick. So I feel like we're starting to explore that kind of avenue with streaming, and you see it also in like a lot of the Netflix shows too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you see like a lot of like big name celebrities doing Netflix shows. You see Winona Ryder, you see Sigourney Weaver, you see Parker Posey in the Lost in Space reboot. Like, all of these big names are starting to realize that streaming is really kind of the future.
And stuff that would never get on network TV.
Oh no,
And stuff that would never get on network TV either, because it's like, well, it's also like, I was watching a video about it like some time ago about how like this is kind of where it was always sort of heading. Like, we moved from like having like, there used to be like this practice in like old Hollywood where movie studios actually like owned theaters. So when they had a new release, they could like show that movie at their theaters before any other theater got it. So like, if Disney owned AMC, is the example the video used. If Disney owned AMC, then every AMC theater would get the Avengers or like Star Wars Episode 7 before anyone else. Exactly.
Now, she had made a comment that nowadays, like, the attention span has gone down. As a man who understands the mind, like, what's your take on that?
Well, I agree. I mean, it's all about immediate gratification now. We want it, and we want it now, and we want it in large quantities, and we want it where we can find it easily without having to actually go out and look for it ourselves.
Good.
That's a huge part of Vine's success.
Yes.
Ooh.
Small
Vine,
15 to 30-second snippets.
Well, Vine was like 6 seconds.
Yeah, Vine was 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And then TikTok is like 15 seconds to like a minute. But like, that's why those apps are so successful and why so many of them are so memorable, because they only have that much time to grab your attention, and most of them do them so effectively.
Oh, yeah, no, one of my favorite content creators on TikTok is the Beekeeper. This woman who literally just handles bees bare hand, and it puts herself in these crazy situations, but she's there saving the bees. And those videos last anywhere between 45 seconds to the full minute, and they're so gratifying. And literally, I found myself going down the TikTok hole for an hour, 2 hours sometimes.
My daughter's a TikToker. I just hit 6 figures on her followers now. She's 18.
Wow.
She's finally gotten to the point where she's like monetized. And like, okay, so you need to start paying rent if this goes any further. But her content's amazing. It's short, but she's a cosplayer and she's getting into theater and comedy, and her stuff is hilarious, but it's brief.
Yeah. No, and it fills that need for like entertainment in such a short amount of time. Some of us work jobs that like we don't have time. You said you at one point just stopped watching TV.
Yeah, I mean, I have a TV in my house, but it hasn't been hooked up to anything for many, many years. So yeah, I don't watch TV, but that was a conscious choice to do that. Honestly, I don't want to be bombarded with information that it really isn't relevant to me. I would rather be selective. So
This is really good wine. Thank you for bringing this in.
No, that's Rioja. It's Spanish.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, what was the decision? Like, what was the final straw that, like, yeah, I'm done with television, or I'm done with, this generation, the cord cutters?
It's making more of a conscious decision about what I do want to be exposed to. So even though I don't watch TV, I have Netflix, I have Prime, but I get to watch those shows on my terms in my own time whenever I want to. And I might Netflix binge for a week at a time, and then I might not watch anything for months. But that's my choice.
Yeah.
And so whereas TV, I mean, remember back in the old days, you'd have your shows and they would be streamed at very specific times.
You had to watch what was on.
Yeah. And you knew that, oh my God, it's Wednesday night, I've got to watch whatever it was.
And if you miss it, you wait till the summer for the rerun.
Exactly. Whereas now we just Netflix binge and you can watch every single episode
Whole season,
in
done.
Exactly, in a night, right? But I think that's partly because we don't have much time. There's a time shortageness more than anything else within our culture. And COVID kind of really highlighted that, because all of a sudden we had all the time in the world.
Yeah.
we went from running 100 miles an hour. I remember I kept saying, oh my God, I just need a break. I could hear myself saying, I just need a break. I just need a break. And then COVID hit and it was like, okay.
Here's your break.
Like the ultimate break.
Careful what you wish for.
Right. And then it was like, okay, what do I do now? Like I've got my break and it was way too long. But
Yes.
Dennis, in your field with the whether it's the stress or the hardship of the patients that you deal with on a daily basis, do you feel that the streaming services that are out there, is that your escape, or like what does streaming play in your life?
I think it is an escape to some extent. I think it kind of delays you from actually dealing with life, though, sometimes, because when you're sitting in front of Netflix for 8 consecutive hours and you've done literally nothing else, and the reminder keeps coming up, are you still watching? Are you still watching? Are you still watching? That's not just to keep you from like changing the channel. That's to remind you, get off the couch. You've been on too long. Go outside. Read a book. Go make a sandwich for your partner. There's other things you could be doing right now. That's why that reminder pops up. You've been on here for a minute. Are you good?
Yeah. No, and it also plays a great role when it comes to interactions outside the home. I remember actually we actually had this conversation at the house. I was watching For All Mankind.
Great show.
And you and I, like, we just started talking.
I mean, NASA gear, hello.
Yeah, exactly. These shows spark up conversations with individuals that, like, you guys may never cross paths outside this office, but, like, if you guys watch the same show, boom, you have a common interest, and boom, you start talking about, oh, I hated how in season 2 he started doing this, and like, can you believe he did this to that, and so on and so forth. I feel that the streaming and the shows in this day and age, whether they're on demand or coming at a certain time, they still play a role with continuing on that conversation with people outside the home.
I find that's really big in the cosplay community.
Oh,
because I go to a lot of the comic book
absolutely.
conventions. We have these common interests in different genres that you walk into a convention hall and you see somebody dressed as the Green Arrow and the Flash. You know what they're watching.
Yes.
They're definitely CW people. So you can have a conversation for hours about what they're wearing, which season they got their costume from. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can really get involved with other people in that same situation because you're in that same niche.
I remember at a previous law firm that I worked at, everyone in the office was hooked on Game of Thrones. And every Monday they were talking about, oh, did you see last night's episode? Did you see what's going on? Oh my God, this happened, that happened. And it sparked up, great conversations.
Sure.
And then the discussions from the show led into, memories or conversations about something completely different. But like the conversation started because there was a common ground of watching a show. Like what's one show that you watch or are a fan of, Gabby?
Outlander. How about
Oh, love Outlander.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? When is the bloody next season coming out?
They're working on it.
Yeah, they've been working on it.
Right
for a
now,
while.
Scotland's really suffering with Corona still. So things are very, very limited on what they can do for filming. Yeah.
Boom, right there.
Case in point.
Right there. It just happened right in front of us. And I swear, if there were no mics here, you would start talking about Scotland, or you would start talking somewhere about Europe, or your adventure that have you ever been to Scotland?
I have, yeah.
Boom.
That's my ancestral home. Been there a couple times. I plan on moving there when I retire.
So next time you see us, we'll be wearing kilts. I mean, it's all.
I own 4, so I'll
there
pick
you
one.
go.
What about you, Danny?
There's
Like,
one for each of us.
Yes.
what's one show that you watch?
I like What We Do in the Shadows, Twin Peaks. What else? I actually spent quarantine watching all 4 of the vacation movies from
Ooh.
National Lampoon
Great
and
movies.
Sailor Moon.
All good choices. All good
I
choices.
don't know about Sailor Moon. I'm not a fan of anime, but that's just my unpopular opinion.
Hey guys, welcome to With the Side of Chaos, where the host has impeccably bad taste. Hi, how you doing?
No, believe me, I get so much shit for not liking anime, especially from our friend Chris.
Yes.
Chris will yell at me like, "What? What? You don't watch that?" I'm like, dude, it's just not my cup of tea. And, I'm sorry. I have attention for something else. I want to watch other things, and anime just doesn't do it for me.
My daughter is huge in anime, and I'm kind of like on the periphery. So like the things that are really super popular, I kind of get by osmosis. But she'll come up with a cosplay on some character that I have no fucking clue what she's trying to be, and I'm trying to be supportive. It's like, well, that's pretty, but I don't know what you're doing here. It's like, well, Dad, it's this from this so and so show. It's like, I don't give a shit about anime.
But it's like, here's the thing. There are people out there who are just as obsessed with anime as some people are with like Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, 100%. And right there, boom. Erica puts up there Demon Slayer. I'm gonna make a bet that it's an anime, isn't it? It's an anime.
It is.
Okay.
It
You see,
is.
I didn't know that.
I know that much. Yeah.
Oh, you see now she's throwing out other ones. Naruto, right?
Naruto.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not an anime fan.
I get under my daughter's skin whenever I mispronounce it and call it, "You watching that Naruto?" Dad, it's Naruto.
But like you said, I mean, it is cool that the common ground that people get from those shows, whether it's fan art or expressing themselves through cosplay.
It's kind of how I got close to my wife.
Really?
We knew each other since high school, but we were kind of in each other's different orbits.
Okay.
She was a band kid. I hung out with the guys sneaking smokes behind the gym.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Listen to Metallica, and we kind of reconnected through other friends and kept running into each other. But then I saw her at MegaCon, and she's in full Lady Sith armor from
Wow.
4. I mean, custom made armor, and she's stunning. And I'm like, I'm going to marry this girl. So, the whole nerdy stuff that actually got us closer together.
So Gabby, let me ask you, being a connoisseur of the art world, like what's your take on cosplay? Or do you understand cosplay? I'm sorry for making an assumption on that one.
It's okay.
Dennis, you want to explain cosplay real quick?
So cosplay is a way of fans to kind of get involved with their fandom. So they go to like comic book conventions, sci-fi conventions, different meetups, and they'll dress as their favorite character. And some costumes are a little more elaborate than others. There's some people that just basically pull stuff out of the closet and throw something together. And then there's people there that spend like a couple grand on a mech suit to look like Iron Man. So there's different degrees of it, but it's just a way of fans to express their love and to do something creative as fans.
But it's also a way of kind of becoming somebody else, isn't it?
Yes.
In a way, even if it's just for one night.
For example, I do a Jack Nicholson Joker. The beard has to go for that to happen. But if I'm in Joker makeup, Dennis is gone.
Right,
For that weekend, it's Mr. J.
right.
The voice changes, the mannerism changes, just the way I walk alters. And that's a chance for me not to be me for a little bit.
Exactly. And also it's a way of tuning into maybe aspects of you that you're not really
Parts of my personality that
able
don't
to
get enough
express.
sunlight.
Right, exactly. So I think it's great. I think that's playful, it's fun, and it's a way of expressing different parts of ourselves that maybe don't have an outlet.
Absolutely.
So,
No, it's funny how you say that. When I do my cosplays, like I get into that character.
Yes.
Patricio is gone, Rocky is dead.
You're not just wearing the suit.
No, I am Harvey Dent. I am Two-Face. I am Mr. Freeze. I remember the one costume that like I did not break character, and my girlfriend at the time was very upset at me because I went, I think it was like 6 hours in character. I was Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy.
So you didn't say anything other than I am Groot for
Correct.
6 solid hours.
And we were actually here in downtown because when during Halloween, downtown Orlando, they shut everything down. Well, the bars are open, but they shut down the streets, and everyone just parades themselves in their costumes. And I was, 6'2" Groot, head to toe in EVA foam, but they were, in the design of wood. And I remember we had gone into a pizza place. I didn't take the mask off. I went in, and they're like, "Hey, what'd you like?" I am Groot. The guy looked at me. He's like, "Cheese or pepperoni?" I am Groot. The guy just made a guess and knew that I wanted a slice of pepperoni. I gave him the best tip I could give him because he went along with it. And the escape of, jumping into the character or going along with it is the adventure that, once in a while we need that escape from the harsh reality that is our lives. Daniel, do you think that, like, you're a stand-up comic, you do theater. Do you see that as an escape from your everyday life, or like, why do you pursue it?
Oh, absolutely. theater's all about escapism. Like, it's just like we were actually talking about it like earlier without the mics, like the difference between like watching like a live performance. I think this actually was with the mics now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But it's like the difference between like watching a live performance and watching like a screen. Like, I can watch like millions of videos of a million different women doing Defying Gravity from Wicked, but I will always remember when I was 10 years old and I saw Shoshana Bean do it live right in front of me.
You actually get goosebumps when you have that energy and you're there in person.
Exactly.
And it's the same. Sorry, talking about what you were talking about with the kind of digital art. It's the same with a piece of artwork. You can view a piece of artwork or an exhibit online virtually, but you're not going to have the same experience than if you're standing in front of the most incredible art piece. It's an experience. You're kind of connecting to it on a completely different level.
I actually do have a joke that is kind of silly.
Go for it.
But you ever notice how the Mona Lisa looks like someone told her that she should smile more often?
Yeah.
Yes.
You've been working on that one for a while, but I love it.
Yeah.
But you can't see it now because she's wearing a mask.
Look at you.
Of course, if you had that many people in your face every day, you'd have a half-ass smile too.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the best one.
No, like that's like a tired Disney employee smile right there. Just like,
I mean, I've been to the Louvre, and it's like 10 people deep
Yes.
before you get to the plexiglass.
Yeah.
And
It's
just like,
big.
okay, I know this is my job and all, and I'm going to smile, but fuck you people. You know?
just like, I'm tired.
Yeah, I've been here all day.
I don't want to be here anymore. No, this is, honest to God, this has been a great conversation with everybody here. I know usually we're laughing, we're jumping all over the place, but I really did want to take advantage of the fact that I had two professionals in here, and I wanted to have an in-depth conversation, and on all levels, on all accounts, everyone in this room delivered, including you, Daniel. I'm kidding. I'm laughing.
Thanks,
But
Dad.
from this entire conversation, I'm gonna give it to you first, Daniel, and I want you to give your response. From this entire conversation, what are you taking away from this episode?
I definitely think that just like paying attention to certain energies, like you had talked about, is definitely something that I'm going to try to like implement into my daily life, because I have been working with a therapist for like the past couple of years. So I feel like now it's time to like put that work into like real action. And sometimes that just means, trying to discern which energies are going to be beneficial to your life and which ones aren't.
Do you know which ones are? Just be you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And be okay with that.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Fucking beautiful. Dennis, what are you taking away from this episode?
I think as a culture, we're becoming equally connected and disconnected all at the same time. But the beauty of it is learning how to separate the two for your own well-being.
Lovely. Gabby.
Sorry, I forgot the question.
It's that wine. Cheers, everybody.
In summary,
It's the Rioja.
So from our conversation tonight, what are you taking away from this?
Oh my gosh. No, it was great. It was great getting to know everybody. And honestly, you're so good at what you do. I know we talked about that outside, but you have such a lovely way with people and allowing people a space to be able to express their own unique opinions. I just think it's wonderful what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. I really do appreciate that. I take pride in the work that I do. I have a passion for podcasting, and it's played a huge part of my life. And this is how I said earlier. We all have our escapes, and for me, podcasting for the past few years, I came to a crossroad back in 2018, and it was a very, very difficult time in my life where I needed an escape from what was going on, and I didn't know what to do. I tried physical activities. I tried counseling. I tried everything. And podcasting has been what saved me. And at the very end, from that situation, prevailed and has made me a better person. I've been able to have wonderful conversations with people like you, Dennis, Daniel, whether they're radio personalities, local artists, musicians, business owners. I've been privy to going to wonderful art galas. I've been amazing concerts. I've met so many comics because of the podcast, and it's really been a blessing. So yeah, what I take from this is find your escape and just run with it, because you never know what door is going to open unless you actually start going for that handle. With all that being said, is there anything you want to plug, Daniel?
Not really.
Okay. Dennis, anything you want to plug?
I'm going to be appearing with the Kitchen Killers tonight at 9:05 on Facebook Live. So I'm making a beeline from here back home to Leesburg. I got a pot roast in the oven with my name on it. So it's going to be some music, some food, some good people, good times. So it's a weird show. It's a weird show. If you haven't seen it before, check it out. It's basically two guys that go to different people's houses and commercial kitchens and play music while somebody cooks in the background. It's like a mobile house party.
It's amazing. It really is. I've had the honor of working with them before, being a guest on there, being a guest cook on a guest chef, I should say, and hosting them as well. So yeah, if you have a chance to, Kitchen Killers are actually nominated for Best Kept Secret in Orlando, so by Orlando Weekly. So if you get a chance to, go to OrlandoWeekly.com for Best Of, vote for them for Best Kept Secret. And Gabby, is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, and vote for you too.
Oh, thank
because
you.
you're on as Best Podcast.
Yes.
So we need to get that out there. That's what I'd like to plug.
Thank you
You
so
also
much.
mentioned finding your escape. And I own a company called Artscape, and my website is artofescapes.com. We do a bunch of art exhibitions, art and wine events all over town, and we've got some incredible events lined up for the next few months. So definitely go and check that
I
out.
just want to make sure, did I write it correctly?
Artofescapes.com. Yeah.
Escape or escapes?
Escapes.
Okay, so let me fix that real quick. My bad. Don't go to that website. It's going to be something completely different. And save and post up there. Yes. I met you at an art gala a few weeks ago, and we had
We shared the ultimate Lunchable.
Oh
I mean,
my
it was
God,
just
yes.
perfect.
and honestly, I would not have been there if it wasn't because of the channels and the people that I've met through podcasting. So yeah. Open that door, people. Just jiggle the knob, see if it opens. If not, go to the next door. But just don't stop turning knobs. You never know what's going to open for you. But with all that being said, if you're not laughing, you're not living. Live every day to the fullest. Oh, wait a second. I have something to plug. I completely forgot about that. So let me put that up on the screen. If you guys are available, I will be hosting trivia at Graffiti Junction this Wednesday, July 14th. Let me clear that up there. No disrespect to Art of Escapes. But yes, I will be hosting trivia this Wednesday, July 14th, July 21st, and July 28th. At 8 p.m., Graffiti Junction, Thornton Park. I have over $100 worth of prizes to give away. This week's trivia will be cartoons, ranging everywhere from The Simpsons all the way to Rick and Morty. So,
Oh boy.
Whether it's 90s, early 2000s, all the way to current, I have questions about cartoons. So if you're a big kid, come out. If you want to bring your kids to help you out with the latest cartoons, bring them out too. It's a family-friendly event. All are welcome. If you want to go for it as an individual, or if you want to go as teams, I also will be giving away a free shot for the best team name out there. So come on out. Graffiti Junction right there in beautiful Thornton Park. But as always, if you're not laughing, you're not living. Live every day to the fullest, but always do it with a side of chaos. Go to withasideofchaos.com. Also, go to Orlando Weekly and vote for With a Side of Chaos for Best Local Podcast. Okay, I promise people, if you've already voted for me, this is almost over. August 1st is the last day to vote. But if you know someone who doesn't vote or hasn't voted, push them to go vote for With a Side of Chaos, and we will see you guys next week.